Shalom, WJC family and other friends who watch our weekly Torah Talk. This week we will be reading Parshat Yitro in Shul, and I wanted to speak about the shloshet yemai hagbalah, the 3 days that the Jewish people were on Mount Sinai before God gave the Torah. The people were around Mount Sinai, of course, and there's this back and forth between God and Moses, a lot of going up and down the mountain as God gives instruction to Moses. And it's very strange. It's a very confused feeling chapter 19 of Exodus. As God, who has so carefully been planning every step of the way from the burning bush until this moment, suddenly seems to be balking. Moses goes up the mountain when they arrive there on the 47th day after the Passover, after the 10th plague. And God says, go down, get everybody ready. They should sanctify themselves, get really clean, make sure that nobody touches the mountain. I'm going to come down on the mountain. Nobody should touch the mountain. Moses says, okay, God, I got it. Goes down the mountain, delivers these instructions. When the third day comes, Moses goes back up the mountain, and God says to him, go back down the mountain and tell the people not to touch the mountain. Moses says, God, you told me that already. I went down. They're not going to touch the mountain. We set up barriers. It's all good. And God won't listen. He says, no, Moses, go down the mountain again and tell them. And actually, that's where the chapter ends. We go right from there into the 10 Commandments. But in the motion of chapter 19, Moses is down the mountain, not up on top of the mountain. So what's with this sense of confusion, this back and forth for God? It seems that God has coordinated this whole trip and suddenly can't find the words to speak to the people. As a matter of fact, it reminds me of a marriage proposal, or at least my marriage proposal. When I proposed to Tammy, we were in Florence. I had arranged a whole thing at sunset on a mountain top that overlooked the hilltop, a piazza that overlooked the city across the Arno River. It was sunset, and there was Asti, and I had arranged every little thing. And when it came time for me to get the words out, will you marry me? I froze. I couldn't say it. And it seems here at Sinai, the same kind of thing is happening. This is the proposal of God to the Jewish people. We think about what's revealed that's special on Sinai. It's not so much God's power, because they've been seeing that for a year with all these plagues. It's not even so much Torah, because we know they've already gotten instructions in last week's Parsha about Shabbat and about various other things. And Moses is already sitting in judgment at the beginning of this Parsha. So apparently we don't need Sinai and this big simis just to receive Torah. And I would even go so far as to say that it's not even God revealing God's self. That God's presence was apparent already in the form of a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night that was moving and guiding the people through the desert and at times protecting them, either from the sun or from enemies. So if it's not revealing Torah, and it's not revealing God's power, and it's not revealing God's self, what's being revealed? What's being revealed is God's desire to be in intimate relationship with the Jewish people. Sinai is a marriage proposal. God has arranged every last element. And now when the time comes, God's afraid. You could say God's afraid. God's nervous. God doesn't know the right words or the right moment. And the response of the Jewish people is so important. So much is riding on the success of this proposal that ultimately God balks. And what changes that? Who changes that? In verse 19 of chapter 19, we're told, the blare of the horn grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered bakol. In thunder, we usually translate it, but in a voice. That Moses had to speak to draw the Torah out from God. Usually, by the way, the commentaries tend to say that what it means is God would say the commandment and Moses would translate it into words that people could understand. Or like God spoke in thunder and Moses would translate in words. But I think that's not the pshat. The simple meaning is Moses spoke first and God answered Moshe's call. What a powerful idea. That God is trying to reach us all the time, but just doesn't know the words. And what's the solution? In the same way that Tammy said to me 20 plus years ago on that mountaintop, Jeff, this is very romantic. Something special going on here? And only then could I get down on my knee and propose. So too, God is waiting for us as God was waiting for Moses. Say, God, there's a lot going on here. What? You got something to tell us? And only when we reach out, only when we attempt to find our way to God, does God's voice reach us, or at least make sense to us. Only then can we take advantage of God's proposal. Be in relationship with me. Know me, and I want to know you. Be my partner in this world, in this life, creating meaning and beauty and making holiness apparent. That's the proposal of Mount Sinai. I hope we all take the time to reach out for that call and to answer yes, and to bring that beauty and that meaning and that sacredness into our own lives. Wish you Shabbat Shalom.